With Vietnam behind us, the United States was ready for a new start. The progressive values that emerged in the 1960s around political awareness and women's rights continued to grow. In 1974, the fate of the presidency was in the hands of the Supreme Court, and President Nixon's days in office were numbered. A shift in pop culture was also underway, with disco music creeping up the charts toward the end of the year. To begin the year, the United States moved daylight savings time up to January 6th, 4 months early, in response to the 1973 energy crisis. The Emergency Daylight Savings Time Act, signed by President Nixon, dictated that clocks would spring forward 1 hour on January 6th and stay that way until April 27, 1975. The year-round daylight savings time idea was scrapped by October 27th of that same year. The television show Happy Days premiered on January 15th. The show began an 11-year run on ABC and starred Ron Howard, Henry Winkler, Marion Ross, and Tom Bosley. On February 4th, Patty Hearst, the 19-year-old granddaughter of newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst, was kidnapped from her apartment in Berkeley, California. Over the course of the next 2 months, the Symbionese Liberation Army allegedly brainwashed Hearst, and she publicly declared her allegiance to the group. She would also take on the new name Tanya, and weeks later participate in a bank robbery. On February 8th, television sitcom Good Times, which was a spin-off from the show Maude, premiered on CBS. The show starred Esther Roll, John Amos, and J.J. Walker, and was the first sitcom that featured 2 African-American parents supporting their family. On March 1st, 7 former White House officials were indicted for their role in the Watergate break-in and charged with conspiracy to obstruct justice. President Nixon was also named as an unindicted co-conspirator. On April 5th, a 26-year-old teacher named Stephen King published his first novel called Carrie. The novel ended up launching the young author's career, making Stephen King the most influential horror novelist of his generation. On April 8th, Hank Aaron of the Atlanta Braves broke Babe Ruth's home run record. Aaron hit his 715th career home run off Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher Al Downing in front of a record crowd at the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. On June 15th, All the President's Men, written by Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward, was published. The book, published by Simon & Schuster, detailed the Watergate investigation, and it aided in turning public opinion against President Nixon. June 26th brought us a major retail innovation when the barcode was born. On that day, a 67-cent package of Wrigley's chewing gum became the first retail purchase ever scanned with a universal product code in Troy, Ohio. On July 24th, the Supreme Court unanimously ruled that President Nixon must turn over the incriminating Watergate tapes that had been subpoenaed. This was the beginning of the end to his presidency, because on August 9th, Richard Nixon resigned as President of the United States. Vice President Gerald Ford was then sworn into office and became the 38th President of the United States. On September 8th, the new president pardoned former President Richard Nixon for any crimes he committed while in office. On September 25th, scientists first reported that freon gases from aerosol sprays were destroying the ozone layer, which protects the Earth from lethal ultraviolet radiation. On October 1st, cult movie favorite The Texas Chainsaw Massacre premiered in Austin, Texas, the hometown of director Tobe Hooper. Billed as a true story, the horror classic became one of the most successful independent films ever made. On October 13th, another true inspiration for a horror story occurred. In Amityville, New York, Ronald DeFeo Jr. entered his family's house and murdered everyone inside. DeFeo claimed voices made him do it, and it turned the house into one of the most haunted in America. The Amityville horror book and then film franchise would go on to document what happened in the house a few years later. On November 20th, the United States Justice Department filed an antitrust lawsuit against at&t, with hopes to break up the monopoly at&t held. It would take 10 years in the court system before the company was actually divided among 7 regional companies. On December 9th, Johnson Van Dyke Grigsby was released from an Indiana prison after 66 years. Grigsby was convicted of killing a man in 1908 and had been denied parole 69 times. At the age of 89, Grigsby was released into a world that was drastically different, and he returned to prison voluntarily because he couldn't cope. On December 12th, Georgia Governor and pecan farmer Jimmy Carter announced his candidacy for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. To close out the year, on Christmas Day, a 25-year-old named Marshall Fields, which was no relation to the department store, drove his vehicle through the gates of the White House, resulting in a 4-hour standoff. Fields was dressed in Arab attire and threatened to blow his car up feet from the front door of the White House. When he finally surrendered, it turned out that he only had flares in his possession.